Step 4 of the review assignments for Tutorial 8 is asking you to set up data validation for a few of the cells in the customer worksheet. Data validation is explained on page 438 and 439 in your book with a step-by-step example on page 439. Now what we're asked to do in the review assignments step 4 is to create the validation rules for cells B5, B6, and B7 according to a figure on page 475 in our review assignments. What is data validation? Well, reading directly from the book on page 438, data validation is to ensure that the correct data is entered and stored in the worksheet. And for this you use a validation rule for each cell, and each validation rule defines criteria for the data that can be stored in a cell or in a cell range. Again, we're asked to set up validation rules for cells B5, B6, and B7. Well, B5 is the cell that we labeled as the type car. So to set up the data validation rule, and as you can see this one is already here because I'm using the solution to demonstrate for you, we're going to go to the Data tab, and in the Data Tools group we're going to pull down the Data Validation menu and select Data Validation. The Data Validation dialog box pops up, and we set our validation criteria, and in this case we want a list because our cell B5 is a list, and we set up the source. The source is from range A12 to A16. That sets up our range, and if you remember right, again, this was a lookup table that we defined in step 3. So it's going to set our basically our types of cars that's in our list here in cell B5. If we go to the Input Message tab of the Data Validation dialog box, we can place a title for the message. That's that message that's showing up right here. The title of the message, type of car, and then the input message. And this is a message that is going to prompt the user as to what to do here in this particular cell. And then the Error Alert tab allows us to decide to show the error alert after invalid data is entered, and what type of error. So when the user enters invalid data, it's going to show the stop style error and the type of error, invalid type, with the message. Again, the invalid type is the title of the message, and then the actual message is here. So when you set up your data validation, you'll be setting up certain criteria in each of these 3 tabs. So that was cell B4. You're going to set up data validation for cell B6, and that was cell B5. You'll set up data validation for cell B6 and cell B7, again using the information provided in figure 8-36 on page EX475. And that's step 4 of the review assignments for tutorial 8.